The Democracy Fund, for folks, I mean, every single rebel knows what the Democracy Fund is. It's a civil liberties organization that does education and litigation. Lots of fight the fines cases, but these days, some very interesting things cooking. Why don't you give us an update on two projects? The first is Western University, and they're called to have mandatory boosters. And then second, we'll talk about something that the Democracy Fund just filed in court today, a challenge to the ArriveCan app. Both of these deserve their own show, frankly, but why don't you give us a couple minutes summary on each? Let's start with Western University.
Sure. So Western University on August 22nd instituted a booster mandate. So that means that not only are you required to have your vaccinations, you're required to have a booster.
Or a third shot.
A third shot, that's correct. And that caught many people off guard. I think there's been some pushback they've received, especially for people moving into residence who are facing now that they have to get boosted and they're in a time crunch. So there's been a lot of concern, and we're looking at that situation. We expect that we might send a letter expressing our concerns to Western shortly.
Okay, so as far as I know, that booster requirement is not an order by any legislature or public health officer. That's not the standard working in a long-term care home, working in a hospital. That seems to be something that Western University has decided they're going to go out there and do that no one else in the country is doing, either politically or medically. They just made it up.
That's right. The universities paused their mandates, I think, in May. And that was after the provincial government said, you don't have to have a post-secondary vaccine mandate. But some of these universities on their own have decided to reinstitute their vaccine mandates. U of T was one of them. They just came out with a residence booster mandate, and Western followed suit with a more general campus-wide booster mandate. But other universities are not instituting a vaccine mandate, which shows that there's some inconsistency here. I don't know if the medical science is different, or obviously the conclusions each university reached are different. So I don't know what's going on, Ezra.
Yeah, I think Guelph today just announced they are not doing it. And it's ridiculous. It's as if the coronavirus has a different opinion based on if you're in Guelph or Western University or U of T. There's no science to it. It's all politics. Now, you mentioned August 22, just a few days ago. They had all summer. Boosters have been available for months. I'm a skeptic. I think they left it to the last minute to ambush people, so people say, oh my gosh, I've made all my plans. I've paid my tuition. I've moved to the new city. I'm about to start my life in college, and they're throwing this at me. It's enormously difficult for me to do anything other than comply. It seems like such a bad faith move to leave it to the last minute. That feels very political, not medical.
Yeah, it's definitely thrown a lot of people a curveball, and a lot of parents of students and a lot of students are quite frankly shocked by this turn. And I don't know what they're going to do, because as you say, there's not a lot of time between now and move-in to make alternate arrangements if they have to.
Now, I don't want to announce anything before it's announceable, but theoretically, is there something that could be done? And I'm not saying to say what you're going to do, but what could be done to help these students, especially in a urgent basis? I mean, these kids can't wait a year or two. They're making this decision in the next week or two.
Right. So we always like to approach these types of situations amicably, and we're looking to come to some resolution with universities. But if we get no positive response, then we could look at litigation. Yeah, that's something that a lawyer always can look at it if there's no positive movement.
Well, we'll wait and see if there's any news from the Democracy Fund on that before we talk about it. Now, I want to switch gears, because a piece of litigation that was in fact filed today is something we've been talking about for months, actually. It's the ArriveCan app. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, I've actually not left the country since the before times, but anyone who comes back to Canada has to download an app on their smartphone. So first of all, you need a smartphone. You must download this app and you must put your vaccination info into it. If you look at the privacy policy, though, not only are you being forced to say what your vax status is to come into the country, even though you're a citizen, it says right on the app that they will share this information with a host of organizations, including international agencies, obviously the World Health Organization and others. I find that insane that you must give your vaccination status to the, let's be candid, China-controlled World Health Organization to be allowed back in your country. And if you don't, you get massive fines. Well, the Democracy Fund filed a charter challenge for that today, didn't we? When I say we, I mean the Democracy Fund.
That's right. It's something that we've been looking at for a while. And as you say, we've had some concerns with respect to the language used in the privacy statement. And it's caused, the ArriveCan app has caused immense frustration to travelers coming through those airports. And I think that's caused those lines that you're seeing. But mostly the fact is that when you upload your private health information to the ArriveCan app, it goes to various entities. I think other organizations was the phrase that they use.
That could mean anyone, literally anyone they want to, and they may change that list, and we don't even know who.
Right. I mean, it's vague enough language that the government can just hide behind it and say, look, we sent it on to XYZ organization, and it's right there in the privacy statement. You accede to that when you uploaded your documentation, so tough luck. And the other issue we had was that the information could be used to determine your eligibility for access to border programs or something like that. It's very vague language, and it seemed to indicate that they could use this information to determine your access to the country somehow. It's very vague, and that kind of vague language lends itself to government overreach and abuse, we found.
What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.